Hey everybody, it's Dave here from Dragonhill Games, and you're watching This Week in MTG Finance. As always, and before we get started, I want to thank MTG Stocks for allowing us to use graphical information for the purposes of this video. It's been another great week in MTG Finance. There's a lot of big winners this week, and everything on the list is Commander related. So let's jump right in and look at the top 10 winners percentage-wise this week, and we'll start right here with Warren Powerstone. So the Commander Anthology Volume 2 version is currently sitting at $3.10, and this is up 69% this week. Overall, this is the highest value printing of the card, and that probably has something to do with the fact that it's the lowest quantity printing of the card. Commander Anthology versions would definitely have the lowest supply. It's been printed a lot. It's good old-fashioned kind of Commander staple, although we haven't had a good solid printing recently, so supplies on this card are definitely starting to dwindle. You can pick up any of the Commander 2014 through sort of Commander 2018 versions, and even the internal master versions for around $1.60. So that's for sure your best bet, being almost 50% of the price of the Commander Anthology version. So taking up the number 9 slot this week, we have Cathros Crusade, specifically the Commander 2016 version, currently priced at $9, and this is also up 69% this week. You can get the original Avacyn Restored printing and even the Commander 2014 version for a little bit cheaper if this is a card that is on your list. Cathros Crusade has been gaining in popularity over the course of the last couple of years or so, and that of course is due to Commander demand. When you combine Cathros Crusade and some sort of token generator deck or something like Stormherd, you can really have some massive game-ending swings. So our number 8 winner this week is Repercussion from Urza's Destiny, currently priced at $33, and this is also up 69% this week. A massive jump over the course of the last month or so, where it was around the $10 to $12 range has kind of been where it's been floating for the last year or so, and then now a huge jump into the $33 range. Repercussion is one of those cards that can just end games, kind of like a combo piece for red, right? So for 2 red and 1, we get an enchantment, and whenever a creature is dealt damage, Repercussion deals that much damage to that creature's controller. So it works really well with something like Blasphemous Act. All right, making another appearance on our list this week, and this time in the number 7 slot, we have Cephalid Constable from Judgment, currently valued at $18, and this is up 77% week over week. It's been kind of an interesting ride for this card, always kind of a junk rare, and then the mutate mechanic kind of changed everything, right? So whenever Cephalid Constable deals damage to a player, return up to X target permanents that player controls to their hand, where X is the amount of damage Cephalid Constable has dealt this turn. So obviously we swing in with Cephalid Constable, flash on something that mutates, and boom, Cephalid Constable forces them to pick up, half their board or something like that. Or we just mutate a big gross sort of 8/8 Trampler on there and get in for a bunch of trample damage again, forcing them to pick up all their stuff. We've been over how Cephalid Constable works, but the trip it's had has been quite interesting. So back about mid-April, everybody kind of realized with some of the IKORIA spoilers and IKORIA gameplay and stuff like that, that this was going to be an awesome card for Commander. So we took a jump from the sort of junk rare range into around the $12-13 mark, and then kind of just sort of settled down as more supply. People dug out all their stuff out of their shoe boxes that have been hiding in their closets and started listing them on eBay and stuff like that. So a bunch of supply hit the market of cards that people really didn't care for selling before, and that sort of dropped the price down to the $5-6 range. It lived there for about a month or so, and then now supplies have dried up on eBay and TCG and stuff like that. So starting to get harder and harder to find these cards. Hit an all-time high of $21.25. Been coming down from there, obviously being at $18 this week. This card's probably going to fluctuate in between the $15 and $20 range for a while now. Coming in at number 6, we have Pull from Tomorrow from Amonkhet, currently valued at $3.80, and this is also up 77% this week. So I did a Commander deck tech video on Kalamax the Stormsire. I'll put that up in the top right corner if that's something you're interested in checking out. And Pull from Tomorrow is definitely moving because of Kalamax. So Kalamax is that commander whenever he's tapped, the first instant you cast each turn, you copy it. And obviously, if we're going to be drawing a bunch of cards at instant speed, being able to copy that and drawing twice X cards seems like a pretty good deal. So our number 5 winner this week is Twincast from Saviors of Kamigawa, currently valued at $11, and this is up 109% this week. No matter what version of Twincast you're looking at, there's also a Magic 2010 and a 10th edition version. They're all on a rocket right now, and this is also because of Kalamax the Stormsire, but it also slots really well into Xyrus the Writhing Storm. So it's basically just a copy spell and copy target instant or sorcery. Works really well when you start copying copies, because then obviously you start going infinite. But even if you look at over at Cyrus the Writhing Storm's like a wheel deck. You wheel, make a bunch of snakes every turn. You can start wheeling twice in a turn by just paying 2 for Twin Cast. Seems like a pretty good deal. And Twin Cast, of all the copy spells, is it's in blue as opposed to a lot of them are in red. And the printing is relatively low and a while ago, all things considered. So our number 4 winner this week, and actually our number 3 winner this week, are both on the rise due to the same card, and that would be the new Commander Zaxara the Exemplary, the Hydra Commander from Commander 2020. So first let's look at Greater Good in the number 4 spot at $18.36. This is up 140% this week. Big spike from just $5 a couple of weeks ago. The other printings, 9th edition, currently around $18, the Judge promo version around $27, and you can still score the Battle Bond version for around $9. Actually, I headed over eBay just to double check, and there are a few still on eBay in the $10 to sort of $12 range that are English. There's a bunch of foreign language ones for lower than that, but if you're looking at just sort of a regular English version, you can still pick up some of the Battle Bond versions in the $10 to $12 range. But they appear to be going fast and have watchers, which is always a good sign that these are going to sell really quickly. So that's something you're looking for. Make sure you get on that right away. Greater Good is a really awesome enchantment for Commander. So for 2 green and 2, we get to sacrifice a creature, draw cards equal to the sacrificed creature's power, then choose and discard 3 cards. So obviously works really well in something like Zaxara, because you can make massive X cost Hydras, sack them, and essentially just draw your whole deck and go ahead and win the game. Which leads us to our number 3 winner this week, Protean Hydra from Magic 2010, currently valued at exactly $10, and this thing's up 200% this week. So going back to Zaxara, Zaxara generates infinite mana when you attach something like Penance Aura or Freed from the Real from Saviors of Kamigawa onto it. So obviously any of the X cost Hydras are performing really well because you can make massive Hydras when you have infinite mana to play around with. Now, I did want to point out that the Magic 2011 version is still priced at only $4, so definitely a good pickup if that's something you're looking to add to your collection. All right, so our number 2 winner this week is Baron Master Wizard from Urza's Saga, currently priced at $15.50, and this thing is on the reserve list. So supplies are obviously low and difficult to come by. Now, Baron Master Wizard has a few combos. I couldn't find any new tech, but there's got to be something driving the price beyond the fact that it could be potentially a reserve list buyout. That said, Baron Master Wizard combos with some other interesting cards, but they're not really all that new. Something like Gilded Drake, you can cast Gilded Drake for 2 mana. When it enters the battlefield, you exchange control of Gilded Drake with one of your opponent's creatures. Then, of course, you could sacrifice your opponent's creature and return Gilded Drake to your hand. Rinse and repeat if you have infinite mana with something like Zaxara, the new Commander. So it could be something like that is driving the price, but again, I couldn't find any actual tech on what's doing this. So if you know, why don't you let me know in the comments below. Our number 1 winner this week is up 404%, and that would be Extract from Odyssey, currently valued at $15. And this thing is strapped to a rocket. It has tripled in price over the course of the last couple of weeks, but it has been gaining in value since about the middle of last year, where it busted out of that sort of junk rare range and into the sort of $2-3 range. It's been gaining value ever since. The only printing of this card, Odyssey, was a long time ago. It is a tutor, so it's being used with things like Mist Hologriffin, because we pay 1 blue, search a library, remove a card or find a card and remove it from the game, and then shuffle our library. So essentially we can use it in one of 2 ways. We can either pester and annoy our opponents with this card, or we can search out things like Mist Hologriffin, which we can later cast from exile. All right, before we get into cards I'm investing in this week, as always, if you're a subscriber, you know I want to thank you for being here. I really appreciate your support. And if not, now's a great time to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I post at least 2 videos every week. So a lot of people have inquired about how they can support me and specifically Dragonhill games. I've gone ahead and set up a Patreon page, and I'll be adding new tiers to that. So right now it's just sort of an entry-level tier. If it's something that you're interested in doing, if you feel that I provide value to your life, then I appreciate your support. Thank you very much for checking into that. Also, I put an Amazon link for my Amazon affiliate in the description of this video. So using my Amazon link costs you absolutely nothing. If you're already shopping on Amazon anyway, it doesn't matter if you're shopping for bed sheets or Magic the Gathering related product, using that link will help support this channel. So there's a massive banned and restricted announcement coming this week, specifically regarding the companion mechanic and specifically dealing with standard and historic. Now, I'm sure whatever they decide to do with companion in regards to standard will probably follow suit with modern and pioneer down the road, but that remains to be seen. And this is a massive announcement. This could be a turning point for Magic the Gathering. If they decide to leave companion sort of the way it is, that radically alters the game. It's radically going to change the game going forward, especially if they decide to make companions an integral part of this game, something like Planeswalkers, where we're seeing, a couple companions every set or something like that. And that may be a direction that they do want to go, but that definitely changes the game, and it's going to change the finance on cards a lot. If they decide to sort of go the other direction and X the companion mechanic altogether, then we sort of kind of fall back into, the way Magic has always been played. And that will also affect the financial markets. So all of that said, I'm hesitant to make any recommendations on cards I'm buying this week. I myself am holding pat. But what I did want to bring to your guys' attention is some cards that have a lot of opportunity with the gap in different printings. And we're going to start right here with City of Brass. So if you follow my channel at all, and specifically these This Week in MTG Finance videos, you should be familiar with the idea of gap. If not, we're going to quickly go over it here. So 8th edition City of Brass currently priced at $14.30. Now, if we go over down here and look at something like the Chronicles version at $24, we have a gap of over $10 between the printings on these cards. And that's something that has to close. I mean, if we look at some of the other printings, the Modern Master printing is north of $20, but a lot of the other printings are in sort of the $15, $17, $14 on the low end for the 8th edition printing. Now this gap has to narrow. So what has to happen is, and what likely will happen is, we'll kind of close at both ends. So the real price of this card is probably around $20, which means that either the Chronicles version and maybe the Modern Masters version might come down a little bit to meet up with these sort of 6th edition, 5th edition, 7th edition, 8th edition type printings. That said, this card has not had a reprint since Modern Masters, so it's been a little while. This is one that I would say be careful, because there could definitely be a reprint in something like Double Masters. Like, this is a prime target for that. But if it's not a reprint in Double Masters, and even if there is, the master sets generally don't inject too much supply into the market. And this is obviously a card, you can tell by a graph like this, how this is sort of on a continuous sort of uphill climb. Demand for this card is not getting any less. In fact, it's increasing over time, and therefore we have an increase in price over time. So picking up lower price versions, especially something like the 8th edition or this modern event deck version, is definitely a good entry point for something like this. All right, the next one on our list is Cursed Totem, the Mirage Edition printing, currently valued at $19. And although this card has doubled in price over the course of the last couple of weeks, it still pales in comparison to the classic 6th edition version, which is currently going for almost $35. So there's quite a bit of a gap here. Like, we're talking about a $16 gap, right? And the Mirage printing is the OP original sort of printing with a black border, as opposed to the classic 6th edition version being a white border printing. So if this is a card that you think is going to continue to increase in price, which, judging by this graph, I would say that is likely the case, then picking up the Cursed Totem from Mirage is an excellent opportunity at this point. So the next one I have for you guys was actually on our top 10 list this week, and that would be Greater Good. Now, the Battle Bond printing is currently priced around $8.75, which is half of the price of the 9th edition or Urza Saga's printing. They all have different art, which is actually really cool. So, I mean, the Urza Saga was the original art, a different art for 9th edition, and then, of course, the newest art for the Battle Bond. Now, if you remember when we were going over this card in the list, if you head on over to eBay, you can pick up Battle Bond versions for still under $10, which is a phenomenal deal if you need to just add this card to your collection, but also something to definitely think about if you're looking at investing in this card, considering the gap is so huge between the other printings. All right, so last but not least this week, I have for you guys Gyre Sage, specifically the Gate Crash Edition. Currently priced around $2.20, and this is one that I've been sort of slowly and quietly building up my stake in over the course of the last few years. Great card for Commander. So in green, we get 1 green and 1 Elf Druid, fits into many tribal sort of type decks. It has Evolve, so it gets bigger as we keep playing bigger creatures, which green does a lot. And then we can tap it to add 1 green mana to our mana pool for each +1/+1 counter on Gyre Sage. So as the game progresses, green deck typically keeps playing bigger and bigger stuff. Gyre Sage keeps adding more and more mana and increasing in size as the game goes on. Like I said, perfect include in many green decks for Commander, and the Ravnica Allegiance Guild Kit recently spiked to almost $5, which is a good indicator that the Gatecrash version is going to be following. All right, I really hope you guys enjoyed watching This Week in MTG Finance. If you did, go ahead and smash that like button. It really helps me out, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.